Hello friends, welcome. I'm Commissar Mark, and today we are going to be making a special video about C3 Augustus, and that is going to be step-by-step guide how to approach a map. It's going to be specifically useful for people who don't know how to build irregular blocks, because I think at this point, if you watch the channel, you probably know what a 20x6 block is, but you also might know that it can actually be a little bit longer and still work, except it has a risk of breaking more often. And so if you plan custom maps, you might have a situation where you can't fit the proper 20x6 because rocks, cliffs, water doesn't line up perfectly and you need to adapt. I've also tried to show this before with a video that's called how to adapt to or how to deal with rough terrain. However, it is extremely difficult to explain this in a way that is, actually something that people can comprehend, because there is a lot of calculation that goes into when I'm making the blocks on the fly, because that's like the most actual fun you can have with the game is when you get a piece of terrain, you jump into the game and you need to work out the best solution that will yield you very good population density for a single set of services, and it's going to allow you to adhere to the terrain as best as possible, make the best use of your resources and space, right? That's the fun part. Not only this, but I also want to go through the thought process of what do I focus on first when I jump into a map, what to set up, what are the common mistakes. There are some pitfalls that go into city design and also trade logistics and also city logistics, and how you can actually improve your efficiency very easily by just not doing or doing certain things that are quite easy to grasp. You just need to know about them, and once you do, your life is gonna become much better because everything's gonna run much smoother with much more efficiency, right? So that's the idea for this video. If that sounds fun, I hope that's gonna be interesting. However, we need to cover some settings first. So I'm using the Augustus mod, of course, and we are gonna be playing with some specific settings. The setting for difficulty is going to be kept on very hard. That's what I play on. Most people that I converse with and I know play on very hard, but play on whatever you want. Keep in mind that difficulty does not only alter enemy numbers, but it's also gonna change how difficult it is to tax people and how difficult it is to manage sentiment, how much soldiers eat food, all these things. If map is balanced for very hard, then usually it's probably a good idea to try it. Unless you very specifically like to play on lower difficulties, in which case play on however you'd like, but you can expect the maps that are made for very hard to then be easier with economy and everything as well. It's not just military, right? So we'll be playing on very hard. We'll be playing with god effects on. We will be playing with jealousness of the gods. We will be playing with global labor pool. This depends. Most people play with this nowadays. There are a couple people who don't. It's up to you. If this video is supposed to be, again, it's supposed to be for people who are relatively new, they've beaten the normal campaign, but for example, they don't know how to innovate a block from nothing, right? To just make something irregular. Then I would highly suggest, if you played the Conquered, play with the global labor pool. It's made for it, it makes your life easier. Once you figure stuff out, if you really want to, you can turn it off, but it just allows you to learn the game so much better. Retirement age from 56 days, wildly recommended. Also, we'll be running with this. We are not going to be using the fixed labor pool. City management. We play with all houses merge. That's important. You can, if you really want to, I'm not going to talk about every single setting here. You can see what I'm using. But yeah, this is the important one. I highly recommend using this. And this reduces the annoying event to just taking your money, which is preferable. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're gonna be playing this on Capua Conquered, by the way. So for the format of the video, I'm gonna be using the cam and explaining things as I play, and also I'm gonna stop if I miss something and then edit it into post by making sure that I review what I'm saying, because there are a lot of things that go into how to approach a map, and I might miss something on the first recording, right? And if I want to have the cam, then it might look a little bit weird when I pause it here and there to explain other things, but it's just how we are gonna have to do this. So this is Capua Conquered. It is one of the easier maps, of course, because it's very early in the campaign. It's the first proper map, you could say. However, we are here because it offers some decision making already, and it's a good example of a custom map, I feel like, that you might run into if you play something on Haven. And so the first thing, before we even do anything else, is pause the game. You don't let the time run, because every second you spend in game while you are not doing things, the game will run. Therefore your map will get ahead of you. There's a timeline of each map, and the map usually has events. A lot of those events are not good for you, either invasions. This is a non-military map, it's an economic scenario. However, there are military maps where if you wait, those attacks are gonna get closer. If you're not building something, not spending your time productively, that's a problem. Not only that, but on economic maps, price changes could happen later on, quota adjustments, other objectives now with the event system. We don't want that to happen. So any time we spend in the game should be used productively, at least that's the idea. So before we really do much else, let's go ahead and zoom into the map a little bit. And so very clearly we have a lot of fertile land around here, which is good, but in Augustus, since we have the car depot, we no longer really care about food logistics that much. In Julius, it was very important to build your blocks next to fertile land, otherwise you would struggle to feed people. And we have several options where I could put blocks in. So I see a very good block location here, here, and then on this cliff, and here. Now, what are some of the benefits and detriments of each of these positions? Let's take a look at it. So this one, we would have to clear a lot of wood, but that's also through here. So that's kind of on all of these. We would have to cut a path. So let's call that even for all the spots. What does this one have going for it? It's easy access to water, means we can put a reservoir and a 22x6-ish block with an L shape here very easily. And not only that, but also it is very close to the entry point, which is a factor in how quickly people arrive, because each house can only have one immigrant on the map at the same time, and therefore people will flood in quickly, and that's gonna allow our industry to get going really fast. Another small benefit is it's relatively close to the food, so logistically it will be slightly easier to provide large amount of food for these people. But not only this, we need to think about it in a way that if I build this one block, right, I know I need 4,500 population. I can fit 4,000 in Grand Insula almost in a 122x6. It's more like 3,700, something like that. So we know we need another block, and it could be a line block, but I think I want to go for 2 blocks. And so, because there is enough trade on this map, we could check the Empire map, and I think that we could support the population with the available trade. It's gonna rise as well, which we will find out later, of course. So why not make 2 blocks? But if I make 2 blocks, we need to think about logistics, because I don't want to build 2 granaries and 2 warehouses, each for their own little area, and if it's connected, it would cause market ladies from here to go to this granary, or if it's like here, that would be awful, so that they would suffer some ridiculous travel time. We don't want that. So either it would be disconnected blocks where they don't get connected by road, or better yet, just have block, and then in the middle here we would put granary warehouse, and it would be equidistant for both of the blocks to source from this thing. It's not gonna be very close, they still have to walk for it, but if we put slightly more markets, like 3, maybe 4, we should be able to sustain this. So I have a very good logistics spot here for feeding 2 blocks at the same time from the single source. And that's another point for this. This is why this site is good, right? And then this one, let's count it. This one has some sheep on it, which is not great. It's also, we would have to build a bridge. We don't need to worry about cutting trade ships, because this is not for trade ships, but we would have to also clear a lot of trees, build a bridge, so it's some expense. And then there are some rocks, so like it's not super straightforward, and it's a bit further from the entry point. So this is almost like this, but worse in almost every way. So why would I go for this when we have this? Depends, because we could also put, if we wanted supply hub, we could put supply hub here, and we could have block and block here, right? So that's something we could do, and it would work really well. But we need to consider this high ground. Why is this good? Well, we have water access from this or from down here. You see this, we could put a reservoir here and water this whole thing, pretty much. Why is that good? Because high ground gives you extra desirability for free for any houses that are on it. If you play without global labor pool, you could also do cliff dwellers by having a house somewhere over here to use cliff dwellers for the farms below, but it's more advanced for, again, no global labor pool. People don't need this video, so I'm not gonna cut into that at all. What we'll do instead is explain why is this good. So yeah, the desirability bonus is amazing. In Reconquered you generally have ways to put people on high ground, and I actually see that we have this is not great. It doesn't have that much space here, especially. You see how narrow that is, but that's okay. We can put all the people we need on this map on this high ground, and no one's gonna live on the low ground. Is that great? Yes, because free desirability is good. But also, we can put a lot of clay industry here, and it's sort of close to the docks. Docks go here. We need to scan for docks. There's 3 tiles, and it needs to be 2 deep into the inland. So, for example, this dock spot, right? 3, but there's a rock which blocks it, so it can't happen. Even if that was here, it wouldn't be able to happen. So, we know that we could put a dock here. We know we could put a dock here, here, here. We'll need to, in this one, I chose this mission specifically because I know we will have to micro the docks a little bit to make them efficient. And that's what I want to show you, because I've seen a lot of people struggle with it. And it's, again, this is not to laugh at anyone if someone gets an idea that this is in some sort of derogatory way. No, everyone started somehow in this game. But if you want to get better, I want to show you the experience that I have, because I've also learned from other people throughout my Season 3 life, and we got together such vast amount of knowledge that if you follow these things, you will be able to improve a lot. A lot of people have, as they play the Reconquered, but for people who are struggling, this should help them at least a little bit. So something to note is that if we put a dock here, that would be the dock, and then we would have a road, and then we could put a warehouse right here. And that's the only way to really have an efficient layout here. Because if we don't put a warehouse next to the dock is going to be virtually useless. The biggest downtime is the carriers getting the goods to the ship, not the ship arriving to the dock, which is how people get that confused. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit later. That's not really something we need to deal with right now. So we start with a decent amount of money. The first thing we should do is drop our salary. I'm gonna charge myself or pay myself less. If you drop your rank by at least 1 or more, depending on what you want, you will lose only -1 favor per year instead of losing -2. Again, a lot of this I explained in their specific videos about features, like what does favor do. I'm gonna have to repeat myself, so sorry if it's annoying, but every time I notice something that could be a problem for someone, I need to mention it, because I can't expect everyone to watch all my videos. So let's go ahead and clear this terrain up here on this high ground. It is expensive, but we have the money, so we should set it up for success. And this is where I will show you immediately the most important part about this is I can't necessarily just fit what I want, which is normally 22 by 6 would be something like this, and it would cut off here, we would have to snake it, it would be awful. But we could still do that, but it would be a waste of space, because all these little curves, that's actually good for you. But what you need to do, so we can't line up straight lines, right, like this too much. But what we can do is, with 22 by 6, you know how there is 2 tiles dead space in the middle where we put fountains and decorations? We'll keep that concept, and then we'll use it and run with it to design the block from scratch in a unique way to adhere to terrain. So, preferably, when I build the road, right, I have partial grid on, so that should add on my construction, so that should help you. If I stop the video and then draw some lines on the screen, that's probably the best way to show you what I'm talking about, because when I just talk about it and drag the road, it might not look exactly how I want. So we'll see how that ends up in editing. Anyway, let's take the road, and we want to start designing it. So we know a reservoir is gonna go down here, and when I put the road down, I want to make sure that there is at least 2 tiles space so that we can have houses or services here. Having more than that is cool, but like it's a waste of space from the edge, really. So even though there is a reservoir here, I actually don't think these houses will have much of a problem living next to it because of the high ground bonus. So that's okay. And we need to, again, keep the middle, that space, but also we need to keep in mind the length. We cannot make this too long, otherwise walkers will break. But we can verify that if it will work very easily. So I'm gonna show you how to do that as well. So let's go ahead and check that. We know that there is this, so 2 tiles on that side as well. Now here we'll cut it a little bit into the space on the side of the block, that's okay. As long as we keep the middle. So let's go ahead and design this in such a way that it fits. That's 6, so it's gonna be, if I take houses, right, I can already start putting them in. So let's do houses. This is gonna be a house as well. We can put houses all along the side, and then also we could make this block curved because there is enough space for us to do that. So how about we do that? We just need to make sure that we fit all the houses we would like on this, and then let's go down. There's gonna be some 1x1 spots for services, which is fine. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and cut it so that we know that this is 2 middle. You see, that's the statues and fountains. Same with this. This is where the fountains and statues will go. So this is gonna be houses. We have a 1x1 that's you know, bit left here, which is fine. We could even use a trick with mergers here. I'll show you. So we'll put it like this for now. And again, sorry if this will like not be as exciting as some of the other videos, but this needs to be done so that people understand how to properly do this. Because again, I've seen people struggle with this particular thing, and that's why I want to make it. Even if for a lot of us, like for the veterans, it is gonna be really simple. Let's go ahead and put down extra houses. And so each block is sort of like its own thing, because none of them are gonna be simple. I don't think I've designed this one the same way anytime I've built it, but you could essentially make it longer this way. You could stretch it more along this side, but this should be enough length where we can actually do things. I'm gonna take the bathhouse, and you see it is with the preview. Previewing roaming walkers is one of the very recommended settings. This will show us that it does not break. If it was longer, it would. We could check. Usually I use a bathhouse because bathhouses and schools are the buildings that break the most often, right? And we know that this will work. What we could do is stretch it even more now that we know it works. But I don't really want to push it, nor do we need to push it, but we could. If we want to, we absolutely could, by doing something like this. So, you know, why not min-max, I guess, when I'm teaching you how to do it. Let's see if this would work without breaking. It still works. So we are reaching the limit. You see, yeah, now this would break. So some places would, but we are at the limit, and still most places will still work. And therefore, I do trust it sort of, but it could change in the future. So keep that in mind if it stops working, because you built something around it. It's not great. Therefore, I actually will shorten this by 1 tile because we had 1x1 anyway, and that should help. But also, a lot of times for the greed, it's not worth it for those couple extra houses to make it unreliable, you know? I would stick with what works. Having slightly couple less houses is oftentimes better, especially if you're new. So focus on what works, grassroots, and then, you know, get more skilled later. So we'll put some houses on the side because we can do that very easily. Fountains have very minimal label requirements, so we don't need to worry about that. And now immediately let's go into temples. So with temples, I don't want to necessarily build all of them in the block because they take up valuable space that could be used for other services. And we need to build the temples somewhere. So what do? We could either put them here, because I know I will not be using this site for a housing block. But we could have. It's a very good site, but I decided to use the high ground. Or we could put them, like, find the most useless space on the map, which currently it might even be this, but I don't want to build a bridge just for the temple spam. We put them here probably. That's my go-to place, usually when I play this map. So let's go ahead and do that. And before we spam all of them here, the plebs will need 1 temple, at least. For the plebeians, only need 1 god ever. You can give them multiple, but it doesn't give them any benefit. Except if you have grand temples, then any of the grand temple bonuses from the epithets you want to give to housing need to be dispensed by priests of that god, regardless of from what kind of temple they come from. So it could be that you have a grand temple to Neptune, And if you want to benefit from that 5% population capacity increase from one of the epithets, you would have to have a small temple to Neptune in the plebeian block doing rounds and getting benefit to the houses. Right, makes sense? So I will usually think about what kind of grand temple will I plan to build on this map. If I don't know, I might place all the temples here. If I am sure I want some, I will, like, I know I want Venus on this map. Let's build Venus. But then I don't want other temples, so I'm gonna put the rest of them here. You could save a lot of space by doing this, and also this is because we play with global labor pool, so we can just literally put it here and it will never burn down, because access to labor is very easy to get. Just put prefects and engineers. Now with prefects, we want 2 prefects. The reason being, he does make the rounds, great, but if there is a criminal ever, he will stop to fight him, which is gonna cause the fire risk to increase more. So I recommend 2 prefects on central maps. If it's a desert, I would even go with 4 for one of these blocks, but it still outstrips. If you went for like way smaller blocks, this is much better still. So don't worry about the labor costs really of these things. We need clinic and a barber, and I would even go as far as to set up a bath immediately, because the bathhouse is important in Augustus, since you can get plague if you don't have a bathhouse with 22/6, because you have more population density than the devs really thought you could have this early, and so you do want that. Now we see that the fountain range is not gonna suffice for these tiles, and that's okay because we have this water and we can put it there. Which actually reminds me, we should go ahead and do that, because what we want is a bathhouse, and it needs to be somewhere where we don't really care about too much. Like, I don't want to take a valuable house space there because I like them to be side by side a lot. So we'll put this here, and that's our basic setup done. Before we do an economy, this is just what we have, and we can run the simulation. Let's increase the speed to like 90%. We should go ahead and put down water. Now we know that there is fertile land here. I want to make sure that we can use it because this is gonna be our industry. So we want to check farms for olives. It doesn't matter what kind of farm it is. So we know that the last farm can be placed this far away. So this can still have an aqueduct going like so. And we can put this reservoir here. And then there is going to be a road for the future access right there. If I build an aqueduct and I try to bring it somewhere, a lot of the times, I'm gonna just show you. So like I would snake it along the cliff so that it's minimally impactful, because if you put it through the middle, great, but like unless you have to, that's ruining a lot of valuable space. You can hug the cliffs with it, which is, it looks a bit spaghetti, but it actually adds a sort of a natural feel to the cities as well. So a lot of people do like it. Here we will have to build this. So I said I will show you a trick. So let's go ahead and put down a road in the middle, because houses need to be next to a road or they despawn. But as long as one tile of the house gets from 2 tiles away from the road, it actually will get access to any service or protection from collapse or other risks by walkers walking here. So this house is viable. We just need to make sure it cannot disappear. So I'll put it this way. And I'm not tryharding. I could be putting diagonal houses one by ones here. Don't worry about it. We don't need to do that here. It's a pretty simple map, but yeah, we want to ensure mergers because they consume less goods per population than one by ones, and they also are easier to bring up in prosperity, and you know, don't shoot yourself in the foot long term with them, which is pretty good. That's why it's very good to play with that setting, to be able to just have them. Now we want to watch for labor, or unemployment rather. Currently we don't have any, so we could just go ahead and keep expanding as people keep arriving. The more plots we place, the better it is, but we want to do it in such a way that we don't break the mergers, because that would be pain. We'll keep a tile here for access to the middle, and also later for lot area, because the houses can be completely enclosed. There could be lot area all the way here and no other way to get to the middle. The house would still exist and be able to get stuff, as long as it's 2 tiles within the road. Okay, finally starting to get some labor. Let's go ahead and get a good look at our trade map. So Tarasena is a land trade route and it costs 200. It buys olives, vines and bricks. We can't make bricks because we are playing our Conquered, and workshops unlock when we reach 10 prosperity. So what we'll do is we'll set up some initial farming for olives and vines. Let's go ahead and do that. And when placing farms, this is a map where we have rocks. A lot of custom maps will have more rocks than this. This is actually pretty simple. This is called, we colloquially call it farm Tetris. Some people don't like doing this. I don't mind. Actually, this makes me think a little bit, so it's a good exercise, but if you don't like it, it's fine. You don't have to engage with farm Tetris. But I think it is good to have to like come up with a most efficient design. Basically, that's why it's here. Like, that's the purpose of it. Now, we could have had a situation where I could move this reservoir and have another farm here. And I think that that would be pretty good for us. Even if it costs us extra expense, that's okay. Let's go ahead and do that. Even though we really don't need to worry about this, because there is more than a fertile land for the whole city. There's also here. I almost never use this. We might today. Let's put down the olives. That's an extra farm for us. And then we want a couple of vines farms. So let's go ahead and do that. There is a tile passage there. It's usually good to scan with some building to see what the exact terrain is. If I want to see behind stuff, I use a native risk overlay because it allows me, it's like if you played Stronghold and you play spacebar, it will minimize the castle so you can see behind walls. Yeah, essentially sort of like that. So let's build all these, and then we want a warehouse. And this warehouse should be, this is the best place because it needs to be equidistant. It's like 22 tiles. I might not be completely correct on this. I think it's 22 tiles distance from a farm to a warehouse or a destination where they deliver to, be it a workshop or a warehouse or a granary for food. If it's normal food, you need to deliver it within 22 tiles, otherwise the carter will not be able to return before the next harvest is ready, resulting in less production than it could have. So we want to have that. Now I'll minimize it. I have hotkey for minimizing on tab, on my tab button on my keyboard to get my overlay up. And then we want to make sure every single farm is covered with a connection. This is going to be pretty hideous over here with some of these outshoots, but it's okay as long as it works. We don't really care. And this tile covers this farm, and then this one needs access, so we'll bring this over here. And we want to see 2x2s, keep them for the car depots, and then we put in services, but we don't just blindly trust them, because you see this prefect wouldn't do his job, and this engineer would. So now that we know what would happen, let's go ahead and cut this off a little bit and put down an extra engineer for this over here and a prefect for this area. And so we separated. It's more workers, but it's gonna pay off for us long term. Let's go ahead and don't allow anyone here. If this is gonna be for land trade, yes, but if we just let them come here, that would completely cripple the trade efficiency because they enter from here and they leave here. And the thing is, the land traders will spawn onto the map, they will look for what kind of imports they can sell you, and then they will go there, do it. Then they will recalculate and say, oh, what can I buy from your city? And if there is a warehouse that's off the road, of the natural path for the traders, they'll go there and then they will decide to leave. But even before they leave, they might recalculate again and say, oh, I still can sell you one more unit of iron, for example, as import. And then they would recalculate to go back to your imports warehouse. So it would create, we call this trader ping pong, and it's not good. You should avoid doing it. So I'll explain in a bit. Before we even open this trade route, you see, it's cheap, I could open it, but we don't have it open yet. Because we don't need to, we still have some money, and we wait for some goods to pile up, so we can transport them, set up a trade hub, and then we open the road. Because the second the traders spawn in, we want them to pick up goods and start making us profit. If they just go here and leave constantly, then we suddenly have goods to sell, but the trader is like halfway through the map, and they don't recalculate, so they would just leave anyway. So we might as well wait for this anyway. Let's go ahead and get rid of that road. We could have actually put this, now that I'm looking at it, it could be this way. 1, 2 tiles, that tile would be covered. If we put it this way, we could still do it. And I think I will. It's a bit finicky. We don't need to do this, but obviously it's kind of fun to show you what kind of things are possible with the mergers and how much you can squeeze in houses, because every house does matter a lot. Now you see we need 100 workers. That's fine. Let them keep coming in because we have all the services working as well. So you know, it's the industry. We don't need to prioritize labor though through this. I almost never touch this because it's naturally inclined to do it for you. And we want, if we ever lack workers, we need to solve it immediately. There's no situation in which we are just, oh, I need 100 workers, I'm just gonna sit on it. If I can help it, never. We will have to fix that. That's a major issue, and we don't want to sit on not having workers, because it's very important for us. Now, here, we'll also have a house here, very likely. And it's stretching it a little bit, so we could keep this open for some decorations. But it depends how much we want to go for, really. So let's keep people coming in. We have some side houses to merge as well. There's a 1x1 there, that's fine. We can use a lot area, which need fire protection and collapse protection, so they can only be 2 tiles away from a road, but they are the best 1x1 decoration. So we can use it whenever we want to. And so our industry started to work. We're getting some olives. And we keep piling in the people because we'll always be able to put them to work. And now we need to decide, where do we want our trade center? Now this is important because we know that we will be importing stuff as well. We will be importing iron, processing it into weapons to then sell to sea trade rights, I think. Yes. So docks go here. Trade center goes here for the land traders. We put some workshops around. We deliver them to the warehouse here. That would be pretty good because workshops can deliver up to 40 tiles destination wise before they become inefficient. So we could do that. If our trade warehouse is around here, that would be perfect. And we probably want 2. So we will probably build 2. And we might want to set up a highway in the future, so I'll keep 2 tiles. Oh, do we need a highway? Because highway, something that goes into considering a highway is there's only one trade route for land, unless more opens up, which I don't think it will. So we could just skip a highway because it's not worth it for one trade route, and it needs to be worth it if the quota is not being met, and we will likely meet the quota without too much difficulty. So we'll just put in a warehouse with a space for another warehouse right next to it, because we want them to be adjacent. Some people would recommend you, like the old school way was, to set up your imports and then your exports, and they can be far apart. No, as I explained, they will still do this where they would go here, sell you iron, and then they would go here to buy vines and olives. Great, but now they figure out that, oh, I can still sell you 1 unit of iron, and they would come back and sell you that 1 unit, and then they would leave. It's a problem because the sooner they leave, the sooner a new caravan can spawn, which can, buy up to maximum amount of quota again. So you want them to leave as fast as possible, which normally on large quota maps is important. Like this 120 iron is quite a lot, so you'd want them to do that. But obviously the exports are not so huge on this map. Now warehouses don't need protection from fire or collapse, so don't worry about giving them that unless there are other workshops and things around them. We'll put down 1616 olives and vines, and we'll put down 2 car depots in our farming area. Each is gonna handle the different resource. Olives, let's wait. We need to wait for this to activate. That's the main thing that's preventing you from setting it. And we'll bring from 1 to 2, and we can tell it to only bring when source has more than 4, because each cart from the car depot can carry up to 4 goods at once. And now I use copy paste settings like Control and C and Control and V. Copy, paste that setting, and change it to vines, and it's gonna just do its thing. It's exactly the same settings, just vines. And so now the car depot is gonna wait until there are 4 units of olives, then it's gonna dispatch a cart, it's gonna pick up the goods and start traveling with them to this warehouse. Once we see goods here, then we'll open the trade route. Now with this, I will put down an extra house. You can get rid of that road. and everything's filling up nicely. Okay, we can't have it because it would cut off existence for some people. That's fine. This is still gonna be many houses, so we don't need to worry about it too much. Now on Capua here, we will have to deal with some entertainment limitations, so it's good to demonstrate imports of meat and how to handle Tavern as well. Because again, I chose this map specifically for this reason, so that I can show you as many things as possible. So we have a side objective. We need to build 4 guard depots for Secret Reward. It's very good. We will do it naturally, but I'm not gonna rush it or anything. I'm just gonna do it as it comes along. So depots are the cards are coming. I'm gonna deliver goods, and once we see goods in here, we'll open up that trade rate. Now, any disease should be prevented by the bathhouse, barber, and clinic, but we do want to give them water soon. There's some olives, so let's go ahead and open up Tarasena, sell them vines, sell them olives, and we will not import iron yet because we can't make weapons because we don't have workshops. And we need to check what other things we could do, because we still have a lot of labor, and we will have more labor once we water these people. We'll get much more. So imagine, like, we could produce food and give it to these people, but that would result in yet more population boom, and then because the evolutions from food are huge, so that would cause issues, right? We don't want to do that necessarily. We want to make money first, and then we want to feed them. But we don't want to make like 2 tent blocks. 1 is quite good enough, just need to make some money first. So we'll check what the cheapest sea trade route is, and it appears to be Regium. And Regium would buy sand and clay. Now, we don't want to mix goods, because we know that Regium would sell me timber or furniture, and it buys clay, sand, pottery. That's already a lot of good types, and if we put it into the same docks that handle iron and oil and wine, it would create a mess and we wouldn't have enough space. So we can be smart and plan it ahead of time, where we want to set up 2 dock areas at least. And one of them is gonna handle weapons, oil, and wine, and the other dock area is gonna handle clay and sand. And that's how we'll do it. So we'll be putting a dock here. We'll want to go this way. This is where they'll trade for sand and clay and pottery. But we don't really care if there is a low bridge here, because they can just leave through the entry point, as I said. So just put in a low bridge. It doesn't matter, and we can put some clay and sand here anyway. Let's put up a dock. With this one we want to plan it like this ahead of time, so let's go ahead and do that. The closest it is, the better. So this roof area, that's where they like to interact with. That's why I flipped it here. Because if it's available, if it's next to a road, that's where all the walkers and all the traders will want to go to interact with your warehouse to trade. And with dockers especially, it's extremely important, because again, the limitation that you have is not how fast ships can get here. It's most likely how fast the 3 dockers can go and keep picking up goods and bringing it to the ship itself until it can leave, okay? So that's why we set it up this way. And also, we don't want this to stretch too far, because if it's like here, they could spawn on this side and keep walking that way. We want this tile to be where they spawn, and so it's very quick. Hope that makes sense. This does need protection from fire or collapse though, so we'll have to figure something out for that. And we want to set up a couple of clay pits over here. That bridge is gonna block that, which is fine. We could actually do some sand closer, because sand produces faster than clay. Therefore, you want it to be kind of closer than the clay itself to the warehouse. Otherwise, it's gonna struggle to deliver all those goods. So let's go ahead and set this up in some way. And we don't want to connect to that bridge if we can help it. And putting these guys, the services, on the terminus or like near the end is best, because then they can reliably cover the whole thing. If we put it in the middle, it would often result in them neglecting one of the sides. If it's on the end, then there is a high likelihood they'll cover the whole thing as a line. Now with this dock, we don't need to do any decisions yet, but we will later. We'll only allow ships, and you can notice I'm always disabling everyone else from coming here. That's because you can't trust these people, and you shouldn't. So we'll only make this available for clay and timber and sand and pottery. And that's how we'll run this ship. And then bricks will handle some different way. So that's our dock. That's gonna be more labor. And we have some trade going on. We will likely take the bailiff from Caesar. So that was 8 goods sold, we made a little bit of profit, and we could expand our industry for the olives and vines as well, but it depends. We currently could calculate if we are making enough. They buy 30 and 30, and we know that each farm makes 9.6 per year if it's optimal delivery, which means I have 5 of these, that's overproduction, and 4 of these, 5 of these, that's also overproduction. We are actually making way more than we need at the moment, so that's fine. Now, we will run into issues here with population where we can't fit more people easily into this soon, and we should give them water. But it's gonna cause us to go bankrupt because we'll have to start providing for these people soon enough with food and goods, so, and services. So it's always a consideration. That's why I said we want to make money first, because when we make money, we can just afford many more things. If we go bankrupt just by feeding people, then how are we gonna afford the industry ever? You can play on lower difficulty and get more starting money, but still, that's not the greatest. So we want to ensure that this works, so I cut it off with a roadblock. You can also permit people in the roadblock. I almost never use that, because it's only useful for messy cities, really. You don't want to connect. If this doesn't need to be connected to anything, don't connect it. And it doesn't need to be connected. If you want to bring something from this warehouse, we use a depot. Like this depot brings goods here. So let's wait until we get some more money. We have more clay and sand. I'm very tempted to go ahead and take the bailout. I think I will. Open Regium, sell them sand, sell them clay. And that's 2 trade routes. Our city should be profitable very soon. Caesar's a little bit mad. It's okay. We need to watch out for population. We have 1 set of small temples, which means 750 population worship space is available to us. That's already been surpassed, so we will have to get some more temples. Now, keep in mind, small temples are not efficient levy-wise. There is a levy system, which is upkeep. You pay upkeep for certain buildings. For small temples, it's actually quite levy inefficient. 4 denarii per month is not nothing. It adds up to 48 denarii per year. If you have 10 temples, that's 480 denarii per year. If you have 20 small temples, which is 4 sets, which is quite reasonable, then you are paying almost 1000 denarii per year just to levy. So definitely can have an impact. So we will want to build some other monuments, but for now we don't have access to that, so we'll just use the small temples as a short-term measure. And we will want to water these people, but always consider when to do it, because if we do it too early, we could always obviously shoot ourselves in the foot if we can't provide them with services and jobs, because people will get very upset in Augustus not having jobs and not having food when other people have food. So with the fountains, again, don't worry about it too much, just make sure everyone's covered. And this is quite okay. It's 5 fountains. We could do with less, but this population density is much better than the old school blocks. So it's each fountain employs 4 people. That's nothing. If you have a single school or a theater, it would cost you much more. So we still have some money. People have evolved to large tents. Now people are flooding in. Now we need to use some of this new incoming labor to make food. How much will we need? Well, we have wheat, so that's already a lot, but we know that we will need cart depots, which is something that we need to keep in mind, because the depots themselves cost 15 workers, which is like 1.5 farms or resource production buildings, so it's not free. So we do need to keep that in mind. So Regium trade route should be coming, and we should set up this new area for food once we get more population in, which is gonna happen very soon. So let's watch this ship come in. And ships have good capacity, but again, the carriers, if this warehouse is further away, that amplifies exponentially how long it takes to make this ship trade. And the sooner the ship leaves, the sooner another one can spawn, right? So this ship actually traded for all its goods it could, and it's leaving, which is great. But yeah, you need to keep those things in mind. So we have some labor. Let's go ahead and design an area for wheat. So let's go ahead and place down some wheat farms, and we'll put them so that we have access to all of them with a road. And we want to keep in mind there is gonna have to be a granary in here, but that's why when there are rocks like this, just make sure that we plan for it, like here, so that we have access. Use the middle tile as access, because that's how granaries work, and it's quite handy a lot of the time actually. So let's go ahead and do that. Of course, in Julius they did confuse walkers a lot. In Augustus they are smarter, they no longer get us confused. But it can still happen, obviously. There are some sheep. Sheep will move out of your way if you hover construction over them. They'll try to leave you alone. But obviously they could still be annoying. So like, that's why I keep the setting to dispose of them. But you could just live with them. That's also fine. So we want to put on some services. I could do put them on the terminus, but this seems to be working. So let's do that. And each farm will feed up to 320 people. That's a lot, but the initial feeding cycle takes a while. So we want to overproduce anyway, because then we'll be expanding. So it's a good idea to have more than less, or more than you exactly need. And we'll do the 2 extra depots, bringing us to 4 depots total, which means we'll get the benefit of that event we had, the quest. And we want to make sure that this goes somewhere reasonable. And I think this is a good place for it, so we can cover the whole city from this one granary. We do need to put down a road, and we want to make sure it's not accessible. You could also use decorations, by the way. If you don't like how that looks, you could make this happen. I don't care about looks, so for me it's this. But if you care about that, you could make it look better. So what we want to do is not touch these buildings from the other side with a road, because they could spawn on this road layout. But we want this area for gladiator school, actors colony, warehouse. That's what goes here. It's a supply hub. Okay. That's where people get a supply and the actors go to places. We want to allow tavern walkers as well, and we'll accept 16 wheat, 16 fruit. Fruit because we know we will be getting some fruit from the event, and we will want 2 food types eventually for Grand Insula anyway. So let's go ahead and plan for it ahead of time, and that will do quite nicely. Once that's active, let's go ahead and do wheat. This one accepts no one except... it doesn't accept any kind of walkers, just deliver walkers from farms, and they are not tagged, so this will work. Go from 4, you can click this little button here to bring you where you are setting it, so that you know, and we can set it to only take when there is more than 16, because carts can carry, each car depot on full employment will spawn up to 3 carts. Each one of those carts can carry either 4 goods or up to 16 food in a single run. But if you set it this way, a lot of times the cart will check for this condition to be true before it comes out, but when it's on the road it doesn't check again. So there is a situation possible where both are set this way and one of them goes here. They see, oh, there is now 17 food units in here, and they go both dispatch. One of them is gonna take 16 and the other one is gonna arrive, and there is only 1 left. He's still gonna take that 1 left and leave. So they're not like as smart as you might think, but they do their job pretty well. So we want to maximize the efficiency so they bring as large batches as possible, so we minimize delay. But yeah, usually it's not a huge deal. We could build some extra farms for olives and vines if we feel like we could make use of it better. We got the event for the abundant surpluses, so we'll be getting wheat and fruit directly into the stockpiles, which is quite nice. Now we need some workers, so let's wait a little bit. We have 1,000 denarii, which is fine. Now we should be thinking about, when we feed these people, we'll need more jobs again. So we'll need to be thinking about what could we possibly do. Now with our Conquered, we know we need that prosperity, so rushing the evolution is definitely something we want to do anyway, because, well, we will want these people to evolve so we can actually give them stuff. Now, if I was to give them a school, it would work. I will give them a school later. It's gonna be once we feed them. First we give them food, but for that we wait for the ox to have something to pick up. Also, this farm is not connected. We can just do that, but double check your services, because sometimes a little offshoot like that can create issues, but not always. So now that we have the supply system, we also receive some vines and olives. I think we will have a surplus soon enough. As long as we keep making money, we are gonna be set. We need to watch out for the Gauts coverage, but that's okay. Now we could put some Lararia in our block, which would be quite nice. Let's go ahead and do that, because they are the best 1x1 decoration, and it would help us in a big way to provide extra desirability to people who need it. I've got a cat here. Shurkan wants to say hi, because he likes to watch the games when I play, and he likes to see when people walk in and he wants to catch them. But not today, because we have a job to do, so Shurkan's gonna have to wait. But recently he's been fascinated by this, because I've shown him a video of some birds, and from that point on he just completely captivated by the PC. So we have some food here, and we know that we could already feed people, so let's go ahead and take some markets. And 2 should be more than enough for this. And we'll use this 1 by 1 for extra decorations. Now let's quickly cover something that I forgot to mention here, and that is that houses will have a first feeding cycle, especially with large blocks. It can be very apparent that it takes a while for the food to permeate throughout all the houses in your blocks, even with several markets. This is because each house can have in it up to several cartloads of food, and therefore, especially when there are multiple houses, the market ladies will distribute as they walk, and so some houses might take a while to get any food. This will cause people to often get a little bit mad, so what you need to do is just ensure consistent supply and just give it a little bit of time, and then enough food is gonna get to every single house. But this can absolutely cause a little bit of a spike in criminality and sentiment decrease. So ensure that people have jobs, and you can even pay some extra wages on top of what Rome pays to ensure that people are happy. We don't have plaza, so we would have to build Grand Temple of Mercury for this, but we don't need to worry about that yet. Which is fine. This depot for the vines and olives, it feels to me like it's not quite being efficient enough. We could put more depots here to do that job. So we'll see if we want to do that. We're getting some hovels. Good. They want desirability, but I think more than anything, they really want education and entertainment. So let's go ahead and pick it up, put down a school and give them an arena. We need to give them an arena because we don't have a tavern. We can't make wine yet. So it's gonna be arena and gladiators. Now, if you feel like it, we could be putting down decorative walls as well. More importantly though, if we feel like giving people some better stuff, we could give them stuff like the pond, which is just a variation of the statue, essentially. Or some statues. 2x2s are better than 1x1s, obviously. 3x3s are even better, but they take a lot of space. So it's always a consideration. Now this arena is hideous, so putting down a statue here is a good idea. Give them some decorations. These people might struggle a little bit with decor, so I'll actually give them a little bit of a hedge here. So with the increased population capacity, we can fit 1,000 more people in the city, which is a lot. We need to make sure we have jobs for them, but currently we have a labor shortage, so just keep them coming. Evolve people, keep doing that. We could want another depot, bringing more food. The main thing here is that we are already producing more than we need to feed this, but you see it's a logistical delay before it gets here, so we need to fill up the system as it were, and then eventually we want to just add a block to it anyway, and it's good if this is already stacked. We need jobs anyway as well, so all these things add together into a situation where we should overproduce, logically. We will want to expand our trade though, and the sooner we can get through that prosperity gap, the better. But even if we don't, we still have some other raw stuff to sell, and I'll focus on that soon enough. This is overflowing with goods. I think the traders can't physically buy all that from us. Yeah, they've bought all that they can. Olbia would buy our olives and vines, and oil and wine, which is great. That is great, but it does cost us 1,300 to open, so we'll have to set up a dock. So we'll do that soon enough. I could actually already do it, but I was waiting for some unemployment. Let's go ahead and cut this. We want to set up a good dock location like this one. We need to think about how do we set up the warehouse. Now with this, I know I want two docks in the future. Therefore, this warehouse needs to service both of them as quickly as possible. We know that dock is gonna be like this, therefore this road is gonna be like that. And then we can put a warehouse here, being one tile away from both. So that's the best layout. We can also put a warehouse here if we want to later. It's gonna be a bit farther from this one, but it's still reasonably close. If it's like 3 tiles, it's okay, but 1 tile is like preferable, very good. If you have more than 1 tile, it usually can be like it will cost you quota, if quota is a problem. So let's set this up. Now we want to go into here and put down a couple extra depots. and then we want to set up some services for this so it doesn't explode. So we'll be putting down an engineer and a prefect, and there's still space enough for a dock. This thing accepts dockers, or sorry, ships, and it accepts vine, oil, and olives and vines. And we set this up. We can do 8 of units. You could do more if you really want to, but we don't need to, so it's fine. Let's go ahead and set this up. We could just take this setting, paste it. It's going to be doing olives, but we change the destination to 6. And we tell it, yep, more than 4, that's fine. And we copy paste this one and change it to vines. And this is very quick to set up, so I don't have to, you know, fumble around in the menus. The copy paste setting thing you can use is a lifesaver. It really helps a whole lot. Now we might want to put some area here, so we can have a 2x2 service there later, probably a library. And everyone should be getting food and all the services they need. Small casa is nice. We could tax these people if we feel like it. They will not give us much money, but it is something, so it will be worth it. Let's overpay people a little bit. I might cover what the wages are. Usually you want to overpay down Rome if you're struggling with sentiment. Sentiment can be seen here. We probably have good sentiment, except some tents are annoyed. But casa are happy. We lost access to subsidy, but we've gained access to workshops, so we can do that. Now with this, I do not want Regium to ever come here, because Regium's interested in buying my clay and sand, so them coming here is virtually pointless. We had a criminal prefect dispatched of him, that's why we have 2 of them. And these people will get food and they'll stop being so rowdy. We are getting some unemployment now, which is not the greatest thing for us, but we are now profiting, which is good. It's January, which means new year, new quota, new me. As they say, we buy, we sell the traders some stuff, and then we open up Olbia, because it's an investment. It will pay for itself relatively quickly. We could check prices for this. It's 40 and 40. We can sell up to 1200 denarii worth of olives and 1200 denarii worth of vines each year, assuming we can stack this. So it's gonna be good. And you see, even the warehouse itself, it has a buffer. The ox is waiting there, depositing extra goods as soon as there is extra space left. So in a way, your warehouse actually has more capacity than 32, because the oxen will be waiting to immediately drop off more. And so that's how you create buffer. You don't need more warehouses, like 5 warehouses. You really don't need that. You just use depots. Construction, okay. If we build a Colosseum, we would increase trade quotas, which is something we could consider doing. We will see. We have 15% unemployment. Now we need to consider what to do next. Our situation is kind of getting out of hand. This is a lot of unemployment, and we do have 1,000 more people coming in, which is dangerous. We don't want this because it would cause issues, or rather, we want this, but we don't want it under current circumstances. What we can do is see what we already, who we already trade with, and what they buy as goods. These guys would buy some bricks. These guys would buy some pottery. These guys would buy some oil and vine. So we know what our objective is here. We want to make some goods. So let's go ahead, and even though it's gonna cost us going into that, it's fine. Let's go ahead and put down some workshops. We want to keep this warehouse spot, but otherwise put a couple of workshops around here. They can be a reasonable distance away. Obviously, the closer the better, but this will do. For now, we can also connect this warehouse to supply it, and since we don't have this enabled for dockers, the dockers will never go here, even though there are goods that they want. So we can use that for our advantage to just make sure that this helps distribute olives and vines to these workshops. And these already cover the whole thing. And we want a second warehouse for land trade over here. This thing is gonna accept land traders, and we accept some bricks. Probably be doing some marble later once our money is solved. For now, it's still not very good. Let's put down some industry here. We want clay and sand. I'll be doing 1 for now. 1 workshop, brickworks, and I think it's 2 brickworks. Maybe it's even 3. Let's try 3. I don't remember the ratios for this, by the way. I always forget because for some reason they made it different than any other production. So for me, my head is saying no. It does not really come naturally to me when something's different for no reason. So for me, it's just difficult to grasp. I could put up the production rates on the screen if I figure them out. Let's go ahead and cut this off because we want this to continue working for us. And yeah, that's gonna be bricks for the land trade, and we should be making money soon enough, especially once we start selling finished goods. Debt is a resource, you can use it, because unless you go heavily into debt, your favor is gonna always be able to recover, and we can always send a gift. With gifts, there is a sort of like a minimax thing where you want to send a large gift every... if you send us a gift in the same 12-month period, it will not give you much favor, so you always want to watch out and only send a gift when this is more than 12 months or 12 months. And you can also micro the small gifts, which is technically the best you could do, but who's got patience and time for that? This is our first request, I think. Let's send him the olives. He's gonna be happy with us pretty soon because our city is gonna become profitable once we make use of this investment. Now, investment is these raw resources being brought here are now being given to the workshops, and it takes a while. It takes labor and time to process, but those goods are more valuable and we will get access to much better stuff due to that. Now, we don't want Olbia to come here ever because there is nothing for them to buy. So this is two different trade nodes basically. One of them handles all the agricultural products, and this one handles pottery and sand and such. We could build a lighthouse to get lime pits, and I think we might. It depends. For now, we are too poor to consider that, but soon enough. So population still climbing, which is a bit scary. We will need to increase our production. We could use some pottery here, so we can actually, you know, sell it to these people. We shall do that along this shoreline here. So let's go ahead and set up some clay pits. Now, for normal workshops, it's one resource production building for 2 workshops. And I want these bricks to be used for my blocks anyway, even though we can't go small insula yet because our entertainment options are limited until I get a tavern. So we're just gonna use this for some pottery, and then we'll use that pottery later. But it's not going to be immediately useful to us as of right now. So let's go ahead and put down 6 workshops. So that's 5 and 6. And this road is a little bit cursed, but that's okay. And we could make this destination, as I told you, the destinations are fine as long as they are within 42 tiles away from a warehouse. For workshops, they can do that. They can do that trip without actually having issues. Same as we can do this, cut this off. This clay pit will allow access to labor, not from service production, but this, each prefect and engineer actually has a range of 2 tiles from a road, so it will cover that from this tile. So we can do that easily. Let's go ahead and do that. We don't want this to happen though, so that tile is going to be where the clay pit spawns. Now what could happen here is these clay pits could deliver to these workshops. That's still reasonably close, I think, where we don't have to worry about that. So let's not worry about it. But it could happen. But honestly, we are a little bit overproducing anyway, I think, so it's alright. Now we'll want to accept that pottery. I think we did set that up correctly, yes. And so these will become active once we get some clay to them. We could also cut it off, bring it with a depot. I didn't want to use a depot, but we could have. There is some vine and oil. If we have enough vine, we could consider that tavern for insula. But for that, we would have to import meat, so we get past that entertainment threshold. So either we would have to build that lighthouse to unlock lime pits, or we would have to, get meat from Rome. Now Rome would buy vine and weapons, which is pretty good. I'm actually tempted to do that. If we import some iron, we could produce weapons. So let's go ahead and do that. This is a perfect place to have a bunch of workshops, so let's go ahead and do that. Workshop for weapons. And we'll put down a bunch of them around here. Now we want the distance to the warehouse matters for this, but if they don't get covered for some reason, we can always build another warehouse, give it more iron with car depots, and that's how we distribute. the goods to the warehouse, because the carter from the warehouse is the one delivering the iron. The workshop will not send a carter to pick up iron from a warehouse and back. Only the warehouse handles that. So it's always going to be a concern. Now we want to put a warehouse here for trade and align it so it's facing this way because it's important for later. And we accept some extra wine and some weapons for trading with Rome. And we want to import that iron. Let's go ahead and say we import iron. We could check prices on this thing, of course. It's cheap, very cheap, 25 denarii. Of course, we do have already got a little bit of a debt, but with processed goods being produced, I think we should be doing quite well. What I would want to do is say that we sell bricks. I think I forgot to do that. Yes. So we already have a couple of bricks to sell, so we could do that. But keep in mind, people are still coming to the city, even though we've really not been expanding much at all. You see how much population you can get from a single block. It's quite ridiculous if you do it well. So we need to keep in mind that yeah, we need to keep employing people. Otherwise, that's why we have the debt, because otherwise they'll be very grumpy, and we can't currently handle that. So we need another set of small temples. I see the lightning bolts, and usually that's when I build more. If I forget, then do it that way. We would like some oracles, but as I said, we still can't afford it. We are still having debt, so just build more small temples for now. They'll have to just suck it up. The gods will have to just be a little bit patient with us. Unfortunately, they do have quite a bit of a cooldown between spawns sometimes, so yeah, it definitely can take a while. Now we'll get some of that sweet oil money. There you go, it's December, we have 100 denarii shortage. But that's okay. Now, keep in mind, with these brickworks, if I connect this, it would be chaos. This sand pit, this clay pit could go here. These clay pits, these sand pits could go to deliver to these brickworks. It would destroy their efficiency. They would be at 50% production value. That's why there is no connection. Again, if you don't have to connect something, just don't connect it. If you don't play with global labor pool, give them their own feeders or use blocks to tap sides of them for labor access, but don't connect it if you don't have to, because it's just cripplingly bad. Let's go ahead and open Rome. Sell weapons. We'll say we import meat as well, because I want to handle that, but we have some debt, we need to work it off, but it's good. If it's January and we made it out of debt slightly, then we can afford to go into debt again. It's gonna make Caesar upset later if we don't pay tribute, which is here. Our tribute is, we only paid 4 days because we are in debt towards the end of the year, but our income in total should now be much better. Now we don't want Rome to ever come here because Rome has no interest in these goods and the ships are kind of stupid, so they would still come here, and we can copy, paste those settings. Second dock would help with alleviating the trade throughput issues. And they are trading quite well, giving us some meat, and we sell them some wine. And we sit on comfortable amounts of money. We have some unemployment. Let's take a look if we can do some more trade. There is Brentian, which would buy pottery and bricks, and it's a sea trade route. I actually do want it. It would buy more of my pottery, and it is costing us 1,000. So let's open it, it's worth it. And then we would like some bricks in here, but unfortunately we just don't have the space. We could stop selling sand or clay and focus on more processed goods, but obviously we don't need to do that, really. Let's do 8 iron only and accept some stone and marble, because I'm pretty sure these people sell me stone and marble. Let's take a look. Stone and marble, oh no, it comes from Olbea, okay. So we can just keep this on iron. And Olbea is one of these. So we can stop accepting wine in this, because we already do that in the other one. Just do marble and stone. And now we want to click on this, accept work camp workers to access all these. We'll need some timber as well, which we'll get. But we want to say we import some marble. It's going to be a bit of an expense, but we can definitely use that marble to make some better monuments so that we don't have to pay extortion prices for those small temples and their levy. So we'll want to be doing that. Now with houses, we do have some fruit in some of these. because we are getting some free fruit. I'll probably be making fruit specifically in a new area to bring it to this. We could already do that if we have unemployment and a lot of money. We could do that. I don't feel particularly stoked about doing that right now though. So instead, I would actually like to make some of those monuments we talked about. So let's go ahead and get a rock camp. And we get an Architect's Guild. Architect's Guild should go like next to the monuments, so we'll put it here. And then we want to make, I could make an infirm. We could even build it like somewhere here to boost the desirability. But honestly, we don't really need to care about that too much. We could do it down here, which would kind of help people upstairs. Anyway, so 2 nymphams, and we can connect it and bring it this way. And we could boost health with Mausolea, but health is actually bad for you. Currently under this patch. I think it's gonna get reworked eventually, but health is bad for it's backwards. The more healthy your city is, the worse it is for you long term, because your people will get old and retire and never work again. Population curve is looking okay. Most of our people are very young. We haven't been here long. I think we started playing in 350 BC. We've been here 3 years, and we already got like a really good city going, a lot of income, really solid progress. So now we are building these 2 things. Now we will need some concrete for these things, which means concrete workshops. Concrete needs sand and also a well or a reservoir. A reservoir is better, makes them produce faster. So let's get some more sand pits for these guys. Now they might need bricks eventually, which is something that we might want to provide in greater quantity. So let's go ahead and set this clay pit down. And that will help. So we get some more clay into these workshops. And that sand should be plentiful to produce the concrete we need. Price rise on clay is going to benefit our city. We might want to set up that fruit industry, even though probably not yet. What I do want to do is bring pottery to the block already, even if it is a bit inefficient. Now for this granary, we will never feed meat to people, but we'll be feeding fruit to people. And 8 is fine. Again, it's like with the ox and with the warehouse. The buffer is the ox. It's not the actual space in this granary. Don't get fooled by that. The only thing we need to do is make sure we are not selling meat in the markets. Or distributing. And we want to do some car depots to bring this meat from here to here, so we can feed it to our tavern, and also goods. We need wine to give to our taverns. So these things are going to be on the menu next. I'll put a warehouse down here. This should still be fine. Let's allow market lady access, and we want to give this pottery and furniture and oil and wine. Now keep in mind, tavern walkers can only take food or meat or fish from a granary, not from a warehouse, and they can only take a wine from a warehouse, obviously. So that's how it needs to be set up. Now we need some depots for this, or we could make this get, because this carter is idle in here, and I really don't care. This meat is only gonna feed the tavern, so if it's slow, who really cares? We need to get wine though, and also make sure the markets don't sell wine. We don't need patricians, and we don't want any accidental patricians. So let's go ahead and set this up. Now we'll want a tavern. Tavern will go over here, and that's gonna provide us with enough service for small insula, which is what we really want now. We could go with some more decorations. These people would appreciate it, because extra decoration or desirability will give you extra sentiment, which is how happy people are, and they are more resistant to being angry then, which is obviously useful. So we will do that. This middle space is dead anyway. We can use it for decor. That's what it's here for. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's wait for some of these people to get what they want. There is some wine. There should be some meat soon as well. We want to enable, oh yeah, I forgot. Let's enable the tavern people. They collect the wine, and now we should also bring pottery. Let's go ahead and do that with a depot though. That is the stage of the nymph farm complete. I want to do this with a depot because that would be so unreliable. We will consume quite a bit. So let's go ahead and do this only when there is more than 4. And we should expand the production as well, just to accommodate for the future consumption increase. We should do this. Now we need to watch out for those services, of course. They are unreliable right now, so I'd rather make sure that they work for the future. So let's go ahead and cut this off with a roadblock. So our pottery should be making its way here. Once we get it, we will be able to keep this going pretty reliably, I think. We might want some more vine production though. Currently it's a bit insufficient, so I'd put a couple extra workshops behind here, because it's pretty easy for this warehouse to just go and deliver stuff to this. What we could do is shorten this path. For this dock pathing is a bit unreliable. We could split the service coverage to this. These would help us. We could sell some more oil, I think, but mainly we will produce oil locally, I think, here for this block or the second one as well. Now we could do some fruit, but first we need some population increase. So that's what I'm kind of waiting for here, is some more pop. And I'll probably unrestrict my stone and marble imports, because we can import a lot. We have a lot of money, so might as well do it. Now these nymphound will solve my religion requirements for a while. Each one of them is 750 population, a worship space, which is quite a lot. Now we see some large casa. Large casa are awful. Desirability, they're awful for efficiency because they require goods, and they only give you +4 population, no tax increase. So that's why we don't usually go for them, but we do go for them here. So it makes sense. Now we had a population milestone, that's fine. These houses could use extra desirability. I could easily put down a statue down here, but honestly I'd rather go with another nymph farm probably. Oh yeah, we had a message that Samnite Wars will start to get asked for wheat and weapons all the time, which is a concern for us, because we currently, our industry can't really fulfill these, but it will be able to eventually. So let's just go ahead and, you know, we'll do it eventually. If we could easily set up extra buffer, by the way, for this, just make more. And for the weapons, we would have to set up a warehouse that accepts weapons and never trades them. We will do that over here. It is gonna make the walkers go this way instead of here, but that's fine, as long as you can actually get it going. There you go, never accept anyone, and we will... I can just get a little bit of wheat and accept some weapons, and this should hopefully solve it. Okay, the vines, we'll be able to send that pretty much immediately, or very soon. That is pottery. We do need this tavern to get that fruit, and currently it did not get this fruit like ever. So I'm actually skeptical about the getter already. This is why you don't usually do getters now in Augustus, because they are so unreliable. You can't trust them. Instead you do depots. They do cost you labor, but like the utility of this is ridiculous compared to how it was done in Julius. You had to rely on things that could take forever. So let's go ahead and just set this up. We have 10,000 denarii, which is quite good. Let's make sure we keep building something. I would like a lighthouse, so let's put down a lighthouse here. Now, something to keep in mind, we don't want our services to go here. And this prefect could spawn on that corner. I know it looks like it doesn't, but it actually can. So let's make sure that it does not happen, because that would be awful. And we should get some insula soon once the meat reaches this. We could already expand another block, by the way, but I'd rather go with some of the fruit, I think. So, in other news, we could use a couple more workshops for weapons. I could order to store them. This carter for the wheat is probably gonna be pretty slow, all things considered. Insula, they have a tax boost, very good. It's also more stable for reasons. So oftentimes you do want them, because they are more stable for they're stable for your taxes, and also sentiment drops. Like they just handle much better when something goes wrong a little bit. Now I'm thinking about building a buffer for this. So let's put down a warehouse. This is gonna be a buffer for wheat, because I just don't want to handle that with that warehouse. I just don't like the gather. It's gonna be unreliable. So let's switch that to wheat, and this one just do weapons. We don't want this to do anything else. Just accept weapons for the requests, and that will be good enough. Just need to produce that. So we might have to add an iron warehouse somewhere here, set up more production. Should be pretty simple if we do want to do that though. So we'll see. 2 nymph farms down. The third one should be getting constructed soon enough. We could remove some small temples, but due to how much we have here, I don't think we need that at all. Now, is the tavern working properly? It will cover the rest of these houses. Some of them might... no, they want entertainment. Fair enough. They'll get it soon enough. We could build that other block. I think it's time. And then we use that labor to make fruit happen. So this is going to be a small block. We don't need it to be huge. It could even be a line block. But basically we want to keep the same sort of dimensions as with the previous one when we were designing it. But this time it's going to be way smaller, obviously. So what we could do is, instead of keeping 6 tiles deep middle, we could keep it less deep. But I also kind of really like when it's set up correctly. So I'll do this. It's a small one. It could be much bigger. We could, for example, do a jutting out section here for like at least a single house. It actually gives us a way more surface area to work with. But obviously it could be bigger. But we don't need it to be bigger, and sometimes you don't want to go overpopulation because unemployment. We'll still do 2 prefects though, because you can't trust public order, and we'll be doing all those 1-by-1 services. Now, space is going to be a bit more limited in this block, because obviously it's smaller. So that's going to be the reason for it. We'll go ahead and put this down. Because if we, keep in mind, if we build another massive block like this already is like a lot of population space. Currently, we can fit 3,320, which is what we have. But if we evolve them to Grand Insula, we'll always be there, basically, on the goal we want. So there is no real reason to push past that. Not only that, but it's actually detrimental for us to push past that. So we don't want to do that, really. Now, if we need water, we could always give water from here. If it doesn't cover it, and it doesn't. So let's go ahead and just make sure we have it, because otherwise I will forget. And we want to build a bathhouse anyway. So let's go ahead and put down this aqueduct and put down a bathhouse. We keep access point to our religious district, or however you want to call it. Put this down, I usually do 2 markets. 1 is usually enough when it's this small, but 2 is better, just to make sure it does work. And then we want an arena, and the arena is stinky, but if it's here, it's fine. We can offset it with some decorations. So let's go ahead and put this there, and we'll change this to evolve soon. Once we get some people in here, we get a school. Let's copy paste settings on the markets. We don't want these people to evolve past what we want them to be. And we want to make that Grand Temple. We already have all the resources for it. Let's just go ahead and plop it down. This could have been my industrial expansion area, but I decided to put the Grand Temple here, which might be a mistake, but we'll make it. It's the only temple we will need. But we are building the lighthouse as well. So yeah, monument construction is doing pretty well. All things concerned, this workshop is not getting its goods a lot of the time, which is a little bit unfortunate. But it's what it is. Now, we are struggling with production here. We are not making enough olives and vines, and that might be why we are not getting some of those workshops to do their job properly. So let's go ahead and add more, because we can use more. We are now producing processed goods, and we haven't accounted for that quota, because I only counted that when we were designing it for the raw trade. Now we want to keep access point through here, so let's not get too crazy with that farm layout. This needs to be like this. And we already cut this off before, correct? Yes. So these will still deliver here. This is still, I think, a reasonable distance for them to cover with delivery. We could check to make sure. Send them the wheat. We almost have the weapons. Some of these workshops could definitely use some extra supply. So I'll go ahead and set this to never accept anyone and do it from 7. So this way we increase our industrial production without traders going here. That's the important part. The caravans will not go here, right? That's what matters the most. Now some of these houses need to still evolve. They need some furniture. We will make that once we get these people settled in. We could use some fruit, but for that we probably want to wait a little bit. We could do some more wheat production, because I'm seeing we currently struggle a little bit. This also could benefit from a connection. A lot of times it's detrimental to connect stuff. As I said before, if you don't need to connect something, why? Just don't connect it. But this needs to be connected because that farm is stupid and spawns here. And it doesn't hurt anything, it's the crucial thing. Like, these farms don't really have anywhere to go. If this was connected though, they would absolutely go all the way here, which would destroy their efficiency. So, you know, if it doesn't hurt anything, might as well connect it if it's needed. But unless it's needed, I would not connect it anyway. As long as we can fetch the timber in here, it's gonna start producing. There we go. I'm playing quite quickly now because we've gotten to a stage in the game where we really don't need to think about things too hard, so that's quite okay. A lot of our guys, the architects, are busy because we build multiple things at once. It can be a bit of a hassle. As I said, you can ensure that the architect is like right next to the thing it's building, or you can build multiple of them. I don't feel like I need to do that, but yeah, eventually it's gonna be built. We could bridge over this and build the fruit farms here. Reason being, you see all these sheep, they all converged here. I don't want to build on that because those sheep can be really annoying. Also, fruit farms, they have positive desirability. If you never noticed that, normal farms have negative desirability around them, while fruit farms or orchards are positive. So you can absolutely have them next to housing and without any ill effect. Now this is gonna be our second food type, which means we will need quite a bit of it. It might not like seem like we need that much, but we do need a lot of it. So just this will be good amount, I feel like. So we need to be careful with what do we give to people and when. Now it's time to do the second food type because we'll need it. The insula time is coming when Venus is finished. Everyone's gonna become Grand Insula as long as they have the second food type. We want to be in a position where that can happen. So no one ever comes here because obviously that would cripple the efficiency of this. Accept all the fruit and we will take... we'll start with 2 depots for this. I suspect we might need more than that, but we'll see. So we'll do fruit, let's wait. Only bring when there is more than 16 from the source and 14 to 5. And then we copy, paste that setting. Wait for some fruit to grow. And how is our wheat doing? I think the wheat has been struggling a little bit because Caesar's been asking for quite a bit of it. So we could definitely see an increase here. And in fact, if this is fluctuating ever, we need to stack it more. But it seems like it's solid, it's like stacked. We also have medium insula. Haven't really covered that, but that's usually not a huge deal. We'll give them a library, because we will need that anyway. Might as well do it now. Getting some large insula. They just need more entertainment, which they will get once we get the Venus temple, or we build the lion pit from this monument once that phase is done. Just get things going. And if peace is the last rating to achieve, we've won as fast as possible, because that's just time. If it's not on a military map and we haven't taken any losses on our buildings, then we won as fast as possible. We are close to doing the Grand Temple. I think bricks are actually quite limited over here. We might be actually selling a bit more than we should, realistically. I could make more workshops for them as well, but not sure if we want that. Maybe here would be okay, because again, it's not really connected, so as long as we don't connect it, it will keep working. Now sand will travel quite badly here, it might result in some inefficiency here, but I actually don't care because I think bricks are such a minor thing for us right now. We got 20,000 dinar, we could be much richer, but yeah, just do it. Doesn't matter. This will still work, which is fine. And it's not that far away for them, but it's at the limit for sure. Like anymore and they will lose efficiency for sure. More clay to Regium, fine. Let's go ahead and send those weapons off. Yeah, we still produce way more pottery than we consume, because 2x2 houses are just so efficient at doing that. Now we want this Venus temple to come up so that we can actually benefit from that bonus. It's very important, so let's speed up. Again, will be solved once this comes up. And it is coming up. Just need the bricks. So the piece is the last thing to achieve, as I said. I would really like this temple to be completed before we leave, though. We didn't even need any of the grand temples, just lighthouse. You could win very easily. Capua is not very difficult. That's not the point. The point was to show you the thought process behind designing a city. We still didn't use most of these areas. We could absolutely support more people. There is also more trade to do, and if we build a Colosseum, we could do more trade. Just this is like the essentials. But if you keep the school of thought similar, you will do well. Essentially, this like yeah, it is spaghetti. If you look at it, but everything has a purpose. Every single tile has a purpose, and it's done to a degree as best as I could, which is, you know, more than you can say about things that look good but are actually awful for efficiency, where you build a highway, connect the whole city, and then your cars from one end of the city go to the other and just completely destroy your efficiency. That's just disgusting, and a lot of people do that without knowing the implications. So maybe I'm gonna help someone with this video, that's the idea. Let's go ahead and pick the additional decorations bonus, and we will just go ahead and wait. We should be getting, yeah, basically everyone to Grand Insula. Except this guy, for some reason, he's still mad. We could give him some statue or something, but I think I'm happy with that, because we have 3 large insula, 55 Grand Insula. It's a very straightforward map, but again, hopefully it provided some insight into how to manage these systems. You see we have no queue uptime for the trade routes. We should be able to handle a lot of these quotas really well. Yep. This is a lot of quota for a sea trade route, which we don't even have a surplus of olives and vines, so they can't get half of it most of the time. I think we never exported pottery, which is my mistake. We could have done that. But anyway, I hope this was at least a little bit helpful, and see you around. Bye.